Okay, so we now debit to the amount of goodwill by 24,000, and we now credit estimated liability for contingent consideration in the amount of 24,000. Now initially the estimated liability for contingent consideration was the amount of 36,000. So if the adjusted amount is 60,000 minus 24,000 or minus 36,000, we have 60,000 minus 36,000. So there will be an adjustment equal to 24,000. We now debit to goodwill, adjust goodwill by 24,000 and credit estimated liability for contingent consideration. Letter C. November 1, the probability value of the contingent consideration amounted to 48,000. So 48,000 minus 36,000, there is a difference of 12,000. So we now debit to estimated liability for contingent consideration and credit to gain on estimated contingent consideration. If the probability value of the contingent consideration amounted to 48,000, the entry to adjust liability is to debit estimated liability for contingent consideration, that's only for 12,000, and credit the amount of gain. In this case, the measurement period ends at the earlier of 1 year from the acquisition date or the date when the acquirer receives needed information about facts and circumstances or learns that the information is unobtainable to consummate the acquisition. Now in C1, determine the amount of goodwill. So the amount of goodwill remains at 126,000 since the change of estimate should be done only once, last August 31. C2, prepare the required entry to reflect the adjustment. So that's your debit to estimated liability, and we now credit to gain. So the estimated liability is now reduced to 48,000 instead of 60,000. And C3 on December 30, 1520x5 due to subsequent change not existing on acquisition date. The expected value of the contingent consideration amounted was revised to 78,000. Determine the amount of goodwill. So in C3.1, the goodwill remains at 126,000 since the change was due to a subsequent event not existing on the acquisition date. In C3.2, prepare the required entry to reflect the adjustment. So debit loss on estimated liability contingent consideration of 30,000. So 30,000, that's 78,000 minus 48,000. So we have a loss of 30,000 and credit estimated liability for contingent consideration. And C3-3, January 1, 20x7, Saint average income is 324,000 and 20x6 is 312,000, which means that the target is met. Determine the amount of goodwill and prepare the required entry for settlement, if any. So in 3.1, the goodwill is 126,000 since the change of estimate was due to subsequent event not existing on the acquisition date. We now debit to loss and credit estimated liability. And January 1, 2007, the average income is 270,000 and 20x6 is 260. We now debit to estimated liability 78,000, debit to loss and credit to cash for 120,000. Next, number 4. Let me finish number 4 and here number 4. Cash contingency with present value based on future performance. Cash flows. Assuming that each sane corporation will generate cash flows from operations of 360,000 or more in 20x5. Saint estimates that there is a 35% chance that the 120,000 will be required. Saint uses an interest rate of 4% to incorporate the time value of money. Determine the amount of goodwill. So on the amount of goodwill on acquisition date will be recomputed as follows. Shares 750,000. Then we have notes payable 180, contingent consideration 120,000 times 35%, computing for the probability times 1 over 1 plus zero point zero 0.04. So we have 40,385. Fair value of identifiable asset acquired and liabilities referred to 1A above. So we have now the goodwill of 106,385. That's in requirement letter A. Letter B, the journal entry by Pure Corporation to record the acquisition. We now record debit to cash, debit to receivables in the amount of 48,000, inventories 72,000, land 240,000, buildings 360,000, equipment 300,000, and then R&D for 60,000, and goodwill as computed in letter A. So we now credit accounts payable supposed to be accounts payable is 72,000. Other liabilities 168, notes payable 180, estimated liability 4385. Then we have common stock 300,000 and credit paid in capital in excess so far. That's 450,000. Now in requirement C-1, determine the amount of goodwill. Goodwill remains at 106,385 or 6. And C, prepare the journal required entry if target event does not occur. So we now debit estimated liability for contingent consideration of 40,385 and credit gain on estimated contingent consideration. Since the contingent event does not happen, the position taken by PFRS 3 is not the conditions that prevent the target from being met occurred in a subsequent period, and that Peter had the information to measure the liability on the acquisition date based on circumstances that existed at that time. Thus, the adjustment will flow through the income statement in the subsequent period. In letter D, assume that instead of contingent payment of 120,000 cash, an additional cash payment should be made on January 1, 2087, equal to twice the amount by which average annual earnings of same corporation exceed 30,000 per year prior to January 1, 2087. Net income was 78,000 in 20x5 and 84,000 in 20x6. What is the entry to record the payment of the contingent consideration? The entry to January 1, 2007 for the payment is to debit estimated liability for contingent consideration and credit. Debit to loss and credit to cash for 78,000 plus 84,000 divided by 2 minus 30,000 times 2. So we have this settlement of contingent consideration. So we have now number 5. Okay, I'll just share screen. Please study numbers 5, solution to number 6 and 7 and 8. So I hope you will study the solutions based on the whole problem. Problem 5 is comprehensive, that's why it's very long. So I'll just share screen the remaining solutions. Okay. Now for your assignment for Tuesday, you take problem number 6. No, problem 7. Problem 7, problem 9, problem 10, problem 7, problem 9, problem 10, and multiple choice problems 1 to 6. Multiple choice problems 1 to 6. Okay, now on Tuesday, when we start the class, you do not need to open Zoom at once. Just proceed to Canvas for your quiz. So proceed to Canvas for your quiz. The quiz will be at 10:05. The quiz will be at 10:05, and that will run through 15 minutes. So you study the problems that I am giving for your assignment, problems 7, 9, and 10, and the multiple choice problems 1 to 6, and also study the whole chapter 1 for the theory. Repeat, study the whole chapter 1. Study the whole chapter 1 for the theory. Anyway, you have the PowerPoint presentation, and you have your summaries. And also study problems 7, 9, and 10, and multiple choice problems 1 to 6. Okay, see you on Tuesday after the quiz.
Ma'am,
Yes, any questions?
ma'am,
Yes,
ang lecture nga ni nga record mo bala ma'am i-send mo ang link sa amon karon
ang ano?
para ma-studyhan namo ng problem 5. Ang gin-record mo bala subong ma'am i-send mo ni karon ang link sa gabi.
Ati sa YouTube, oo, i-send ko ni dayon.
Oo, okay.
Siguro mga alauna, ra na na.
Sige ma'am.
O, dala